What is up guys, today we are going to take a look at the unofficial sequel of Half-Life Opposing Force. Released in 2016, developed by the hands of just one developer, Richard Seabrook, Prospekt is not a mod. Nope, it's a standalone official game that made it to the store thanks to Steam Greenlight. This Seabrook guy must have massive balls of steel for taking the responsibility of developing a sequel to the masterpiece expansion Opposing Force is, and in this video we will see if he did a great work or not. By a quick look at the Steam page of this unofficial spin-off, it sounds like plenty of cool content awaits for the player that decides to throw $5 on Prospekt. And yeah, let's hop right into the game to take a look at it with our own eyes. Right from the start, a cutscene with the G-Man walking towards Adrian Shepard greets us, but thankfully a bunch of Vortigaunts cockblock this creepy man from reaching you. What does the G-Man wants from Shepard, we will find it out at the end of the game. A very boring second cutscene follows, with a Vortigaunt trying to convince Shepard that the Vortigaunts and even Gordon Freeman are no longer enemies but friends, and in fact the Vortigaunts freed Shepard from its stasis to assist Freeman in his escape from Nova Prospekt. Finally, the Vortigaunts free you from your stasis and deploy you in Nova Prospekt. The opening of this game tries to be mysterious and cinematic. The corridors of Nova Prospekt are littered with dead Combines and Antlion corpses, which I suppose were massacred by the Freeman. Everything has a dreamy feel to it, but a background voice of one of your ex-HSU's comrades spoils the atmosphere because he has got that brash language typical of Marines, and he keeps on repeating the word as
"Maybe they're prepping us for your mom's house. Here she's a feisty chick."
That's real funny, Davis. I hear the same thing about your wife.
So the immersion is completely ruined. Now, the first half of the first chapter doesn't involve any combat at all. The challenge is to find your way through the jail by solving some cool little environmental puzzle. I enjoyed the first one, where you gotta throw a rock at a camera to keep a gate open, or having to stack a bunch of boxes to reach a control room. It reminded me that I'm playing a Source game, and using physics it's always cool in a Source game. During the game, Shepard will have to solve a bunch of more environmental puzzles, and in my opinion they are the highlight of the game. Unfortunately, these puzzles will disappear once you get to the second half of the game in favor of repetitive combat against the Combines. Soon enough, you will in fact lay your hands on a crowbar, on the Half-Life 2 SMG and the AR2. It's a shame that you get a crowbar and not a pipe wrench, because come on, wasn't Prospekt supposed to be an Opposing Force sequel? Finding a crowbar instead of a wrench or a knife, and I liked Opposing Force combat knife, made me lose any hope of finding old Opposing Force weapons like the Spore Launcher or M249, and in fact your arsenal in Prospekt comprises only the standard vanilla Half-Life 2 one, and it's a true shame since Half-Life 2 arsenal isn't even that good. Now a door will lead you to an outside area where a fun fight against the Combines will occur, and the fact that it's outside is a nice breath of fresh air. Shortly after, the jail starts to catch fire and breaks down, but a teleporter saves Adrian S. A small flashback cutscene follows, and it lets us take a glance at the exterior of a base in a snowy landscape. Here, Prospekt is trying to hint at the Borealis and to create some ties to Half-Life 2 and its episodes, but these links are very frail and without much meaning. Following the teleportation, Adrian finds himself in another area of Nova Prospekt, This one resembles the teleport area in the chapter Entanglement in Half-Life 2. This area is supposedly called Nova Prospekt Train Depot. I read it on the Combiner wiki. Here's there's a little exploration puzzle, and after managing to get out of this familiar looking room, we get to what is probably the most original area of this mod. A Sovietic looking power plant or whatever the hell it is. I like how vibrant it looks, and the developers also inserted a nice little throwback to the USSR, not like I'm affiliated to it. Just like the previous room, finding our way out of this communist stronghold involves walking on narrow strips of metal. I honestly appreciate these large and spacious rooms because they make the player feel small and insignificant in comparison to the grandiosity of the whole Nova Prospekt complex. Half-Life 1-2 did the same in areas like the train ride, the test chamber, or in Blast Pit, and it's an effective technique to create an ominous and uneasy atmosphere. How can Shepard make it out alive when he's so small and Nova Prospekt seems so daunting and huge? Right after this brightly lit and open zone, there is a nice claustrophobic and dark sewer area. Yay! However, the little puzzle where you gotta retrieve a piece of metal to create a bridge to cross a small gap is pretty neat. It made me feel more smart than my elementary teacher did. Overall, so far so good. This Prospekt game seems to be quite fun. The pacing is good, it alternates exploration, combat and different looking areas. I mean, what can go wrong? Hell, after the sewer, a tense battle against a pack of hunters follows too. And fighting hunter is always fun, cause the fights are dynamic, frenetic and satisfying. Getting out of this room too requires a bit of brainpower in typical Half-Life fashion, cause Half-Life was never only about running and shooting, but also about thinking. However, from now on, the moments where the player is required to use his brain power becomes more and more scarce, and that applies to the variety of areas we explore as well. After going down an elevator, something we will have to get used to since from now on, instead of enjoyable navigation puzzle, Prospekt just puts a long drawn out elevator section, which is very boring. So after the elevator we have arrived in an area that looks like the Citadel and probably is. We are in the 4th chapter out of 9 in Prospekt, and from this point on, Prospekt will turn into pretty much a repetitive corridor shooter, with combines being the only enemies you are going to face. Remember the chapter Dark Energy in Half-Life 2? Well, from now onward, Prospekt will play out just like that mediocre final chapter of Half-Life 2, with the sole exception that you aren't even wielding a supercharged gravity gun to have fun with, but the standard Half-Life 2 arsenal against your standard Half-Life 2 combined soldiers and elites. If Opposing Force expanded on Half-Life 1 by introducing a whole new race with a slew of cool new enemies to fight against with new military weapons, Prospekt does none of that. And, as much as I would like to support its creator, I can't help but feel like he didn't put enough effort for Prospekt to be released as a standalone game with a price tag. But hey, before despairing, the game has still got one little trick up its sleeve to surprise the player, managing to do one thing more that Half-Life 2 didn't. In fact, by the end of Chapter 5, Adrian Shepard takes a teleport straight to Xen. I was genuinely excited for the Xen section, since Half-Life 1 Xen always fascinated me, but here in Prospekt, Xen is everything but fascinating. Matter of fact, Xen is just as empty and bare as a wasteland with very little care or detail put into it. Even the skybox looks like trash, and the few props you find are surrounded by this thick green mist, which only contributes in adding ugliness to an already sad landscape. If Half-Life 1 was rushed, Prospekt Xen was speedrun through by the developer. Needless to say, I got disappointed. Thank God this chapter is as short as a dwarf and we are right back to slaughtering combines in empty-looking Citadel corridors. My dreams are fulfilled. But wasn't Shepard only supposed to aid the Freeman in Nova Prospekt? Why are we in the Citadel goes beyond my understanding. I suspect that the Vortigons have exploited the poor naive Shepard by assigning him a mission more complicated than the original one. In fact, Shepard's objective now is to destroy the Citadel core. The only notable set pieces during your journey to the core is being able to admire the Earth from afar, although this raises some questions cause wasn't the Citadel located on Earth? And also there is a section where you can admire a gunship being blasted into the battlefield thanks to quite a technological piece of machinery that emits cool looking blue light. Aside from these two parts, the game is just a corridor shooter and it's not like these set pieces are something to write home about anyways. On to the final battle, which, much like Half-Life 2 final boss fight, is disappointing as hell. But while we don't expect much from a spin-off game created by just one person, Half-Life 2 final battle could have been better. But I digress. Anyways, this final battle consists in pressing the same red buttons of 4 consoles and protecting them from the waves of, you guessed it, combines. I don't know why they refused to send a hunter, some maniacs, hell even create a new enemy since this Prospekt thing is not a mod and has got a price tag to it. So yeah, you have to murder 30 or so combines in an annoying arena that lacks cover and health, and you have to wait for the Nexus to overload and admire the fireworks in a sequence that resembles the Half-Life 1 Resonance Cascade. Great, you have now beaten a very mediocre Half-Life spin-off. Time for the final cutscene, which obviously involves the G-Man. But it's just the G-Man walking towards you. He won't say a single word, but he will touch your muscly pectorals, and then creepy smile at you without saying a single word, just like a pedo would. Vortigons try to stop him on his path, but it's to no avail. The G-Man really wants to squeeze Shepard's juicy booby pecs. I would have done the same, honestly. And after this cutscene, this is it, you have beaten Prospekt. Now, another complaint about the Citadel levels is that there are way too many sections riding a slow escalator, which really kill the pace of the game, since you're just standing still and waiting. These elevator rides are supposed to be narrative set pieces, because it's as if Shepard starts reminiscing about the discussions some of his ex-HSU friends used to have. But the writing is pretty bad, because the author portrayed the HSU as absolute ignorant dorks. They say stuff like, oh, in Black Mesa there's gonna be some wild alien stuff.
It could be some crazy alien shit down there.
Or in Black Mesa there is some crazy sci-fi shit going on.
This is some crazy sci-fi shit!
Which is not that good. I get it, the author wants to highlight how little the HSU knew about Black Mesa prior to the mission, and in fact most of them thought of this Black Mesa expedition as a cakewalk and easy money. One of them even calls the mission a babysitting job.
You know it's gonna be nothing but a goddamn babysitting job.
Little did he know that shit will hit the fan. I guess that as an Half-Life and Adrian Shepard fan, it's cool to hear these pieces of dialogues, and I appreciate them for what they are. However, they sound amatorial at best. Moreover, the college jock attitude of one of the soldiers sounds annoying and really breaks the immersion from the dark and gritty citadel you're exploring.
Hey, Palms, you seen that weird G-man walking around lately? Maybe he wants some of Shepard's sweet ass.
It's a shame that these dialogues are average at best, cause with a little more effort, something much cooler could have come out of it. So, to wrap up the video, is Prospekt worthy of being the successor of Opposing Force? Well, definitely not even remotely close. There are no new enemies, no new weapons, and half of the game plays all the same. But can Prospekt entertain long-time Half-Life fans thirsty for another official Half-Life experience that isn't a mod? Yes, but as we all know, there are some mods that do level design, enemies and weapons way better than Prospekt, and that don't cost any money. Sure, $5 isn't a lot, but this game isn't even 2 hours long, so it's all up to you. And I mean guys, I hope you enjoyed the video and see you next time.